Benito Mussolini considered himself heir to the great Caesars of the past and was determined to create a great new Roman Empire. To prove his success to his own people and the world, he would acquire a new colony for Italy in Africa. In 1930, in the East African nation of Ethiopia, Haile Selassie was crowned Emperor King of Kings, the Lion of Judah. According to legend, this proud emperor was a direct descendant of Solomon and Sheba. Educated in Europe, he was determined to bring his 3,000-year-old primitive kingdom into the 20th century.
This is a story of brutal conquest and blithe ignorance. Ethiopia, a primitive African kingdom, would soon be overrun by Benito Mussolini's mechanized fascist army.
In 1934, Mussolini had forged one of the most powerful armies in Europe. He proclaimed that it was Italy's duty and right to colonize and civilize Ethiopia. In her first attempt, Italy had been defeated in 1896. Vengeance for that humiliation would be a test of the modern Italian spirit. Haile Selassie was enough of a realist to take Mussolini seriously, but he placed his faith in the League of Nations to stop Italian aggression, and the rest of the world shared his hopes.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am very glad to take this opportunity. Italy will never take the initiative in promoting war. They would acquire a new colony next to Italian Somaliland in Ethiopia. His target was Walwal, a desert watering hole. On December 5, 1934, under the leadership of Marshal de Bono, an incompetent World War I general, Italian troops provoked a skirmish over the water rights at Walwal. The Ethiopians were easily routed in this test encounter. Haile Selassie demanded that the League of Nations punish Italy. He had every reason to believe that the League would stop Mussolini. Mussolini claimed that he was provoked and that the League should instead censure Ethiopia. On October 3rd, 1935, more than 250,000 Italian troops, complemented by thousands of well-trained Somali natives, crossed the northern and southern borders of Ethiopia. They advanced unchallenged for 2 days. From Addis Ababa, Selassie announced to the world that Italy was the aggressor. He fervently hoped that his barefoot soldiers with World War I weapons would be rescued from massacre by the League of Nations. His strategy was to send small units to the front at first and let the desolate mountain and desert terrain hold back the invaders. The first major confrontation was at Adawa, the site of the Italian defeat in 1896. Perhaps not since the invention of gunpowder had one army enjoyed such military supremacy. It took only 4 days for the fascist army to achieve victory and avenge their earlier humiliation. The war was marked by much pure savagery. Mussolini's mechanized army decimated Selassie's primitive tribesmen. Pierre Laval, whose secret agreement paved the way for Mussolini's conquest,
guided the League of Nations toward the imposition of only mild sanctions against Italy. The League censured Italy as the aggressor and suspended all economic relations with her, but voted against sending arms or troops to ሥላሴ.
And there are no seas.
The vote satisfied the conscience of most European leaders who refused to see beyond the hypocrisy of their actions. For all intents and purposes, Ethiopia had been sacrificed.
It will rain. It's always spring. There are no winter's pain. The rivers and the lakes are still pure. There is less noise. It's quiet for you find a new thing. Indeed, Ethiopia might be like country is in the east of Africa.
Mussolini's brother Vittorio, a pilot, enjoyed killing from the air. These were his words. As the bomb fell in their midst and blew them up, one group of horsemen gave me the impression of a budding rose unfolding.
Ethiopia is in the east of Africa. Indeed, Ethiopia is in the east of Africa. Colors and friendship, you bet you will find that it's good hospitality and the peace of mind.
Many of the reporters rushed over there with an adventurous sense of a romantic type of desert warfare, as though it would be a chapter out of T.E. Lawrence. They found out it was anything but that, and it was rather a dull and dragged out, essentially undramatic war. And as a result, a number of journalists began to fabricate stories.
Even Mussolini was surprised by the speedy Italian success. Prepared for a 6-year war, it ended in 6 months. The efficient Italian war machine devastated both ሥላሴ's primitive army and his primitive country. A gentle monarch was driven out of a land which, in the words of Winston Churchill, no conqueror in 4,000 years ever thought worthwhile to subdue. Emperor ሥላሴ and his 2 sons were forced to flee before the Italians marched on his capital, Addis Ababa. About 700,000 Ethiopians were killed, about 2,000 Italians died. On May 9, 1936, Mussolini declared in Rome that Ethiopia now belonged to Italy. The embarrassed League had no choice but to give him the podium. Italian journalists heaped upon him the final and most humiliating indignity.
Monsieur le Président, Monsieur le...
After the Italian journalist hecklers were ejected from the hall, Haile Selassie continued, and he said this: "It is international morality that is at stake. Apart from the kingdom of the Lord, there is not on this earth any nation which is superior to any other. It is us today it will be you tomorrow.
The wisdom and prophetic nature of Haile Selassie's speech at the League of Nations went unheeded. The world listened but did nothing, paralyzed by insecurity and fear of fascist military strength. By turning our backs on the Abyssinian War, the United States refused to face the fact that Mussolini's takeover of the primitive African nation was no different from traditional European colonization. Our reluctance to strongly oppose outright aggression in 1935, simply because an ocean separated us, was a policy that gratified both Hitler and Mussolini, as well as American pacifists and isolationists. The Neutrality Act of 1935, which prohibited the shipment of arms to belligerents, helped assure the victory of Italy's well-equipped modern army. The ease with which Italy overpowered Ethiopia was a signal to fascist dictators that democratic nations would not resist their urge for conquest with anything but words. Ethiopia set the stage for European conquest.